Hey everyone, welcome to Cool on the Internet, Even Cooler IRL, the show where I bridge the gap between the internet and real life. I'm so lucky to have made so many wonderful friends across the internet space, but I'm even luckier that so many of those friends I've made online, I actually am great friends with IRL, or in real life. So the whole goal of this show is to meet with my educational technology friends in person, bring along the camera, so that way when we talk about education, EdTech, 21st century learning, and the like, you can come right along too and learn with me and my great friends. So, let's get rolling. Today we're going to talk with my good friend, Kate Applebee. She used to be a TOSA and a high school English teacher, but now she's making the transition to be a high school librarian. I'm super excited to talk with her about her career and the plan she has for the library at her school. So, let's get started. Oh, and by the way, happy summer! Since it's summer, we find ourselves in front of a pool, which we are totally going to get in after we're done filming this interview, by the way. So everybody, this is Kate Applebee, and you can find her on the internet as...
K, the number 8, and then Applebee at Twitter. That's really my only social media.
And that's okay, you don't have to do them all. People like me that do all of them, we're a little nuts, so you probably, I think you chose the right one if you're gonna do one.
I'm going to get on Instagram this year. I'm going to make you do it with me.
Okay,
I'm going to have you teach me, so it'll be good.
That's fine. That's okay. No problem at all. That's why I'm here, because I like to help people.
Right? That's why I keep her as a friend.
Right. And of course, you'll be able to see all of Kate's social media handles, the Twitter and the eventual Instagram, down below in the description, so that way you can connect with her, because Kate is a new librarian. Yay!
Woo! So excited.
I know. I'm excited for you, because we've already been talking a lot about what your plans are for the library, but before we jump into that, we're gonna rewind a little bit. And can you tell all of my fabulous friends what your kind of history in EDU is?
So I started out as a classroom teacher, teaching high school English at one of the 2 high schools in our district, and I did that for 8 years. During that time, had a wonderful daughter. My husband started teaching at the same site, also in English, and from there, they opened up a 3rd new high school, and it was with a principal that I really wanted to work under, so I applied. I got that. 6 months into that job, she said, we're opening up a TOSA position, mainly for WASC, and I love WASC. And I applied for that, got that, so I went down from teaching full-time to just teaching 2 periods a day, and then being TOSA for the rest of the time, and did that for about a year and a half. Yeah, about a year and a half, 2 years. Led us through our initial WASC visit, got us all the way up to the year prior to our full WASC visit, and then realized I couldn't do it anymore and went back to being in the classroom for the last 3 years, and am now moving on to being our librarian at the same site.
Awesome. And then what aspects of English do you teach? Because of course there's so many different...
Right. In my career, I have taught primarily 10th grade, so sophomores. I've taught our double block intensive class for sophomores. I've taught it for freshmen. I've taught honors for sophomores. I've taught AP English language and composition. I've taught a KC prep class. I think that's about it. I've run the entire gamut from very low to very high.
Which is awesome, and which is why when I was in the classroom, at one point Kate and I actually got to work at the same site, which was really where our friendship started, because next time you see me in person, ask me for the real story of how Ari and Kate met.
And how it's kind of amazing that we're even friends.
Yeah, it's kind of hilarious. But we are good friends, and what was so nice is when I got to work with her, I was still a relatively new teacher, so having someone like her in a department was amazing to work with and to learn from, and her husband as well, who will probably, I'll rope him into being on the podcast eventually. And then, so one of the things that I always found kind of interesting about you is how much you do love WASC, because a lot of people hear WASC and they just immediately dread it. So why do you like the WASC process so much?
ACS WASC accreditation is a process schools use to monitor student learning and set school improvement goals. ACS WASC accreditation is an ongoing cycle of quality. Schools assess their program and the impact on student learning with respect to the ACS WASC criteria and other accreditation factors.
I think it all started because at the high school that Ari actually attended, and that was the first one I taught at, our TOSA in charge of WASC was an amazingly patient woman, and she really valued the process, and so I got to be a WASC focus group leader under her, and I got to learn more about the process. And then when I took it on at the new high school, I learned a lot more about WASC than I ever knew, and I really dug into this idea of it's a cyclical learning process. What are the kids learning? How do we know it, and how do we improve? And everything that a school does, that's what we should care about. What are the kids learning? How do we know that they're learning this? How do we improve from where we're at? And WASC is, I've worked with many administrators, and unfortunately a fair amount of administrators view WASC as an end-all. You write the report, the WASC visit comes, they give you the recommendation, WASC comes back and says, this is what your accreditation is, and everyone's like, yay, we don't have to worry about it for another, hopefully, 6 years. And it shouldn't be that. It should be this reflective process that I see a lot of my PLN on Twitter doing naturally as teachers of, I reflect, I change, I go, okay, what are the kids learning? How do I know this? How do I shift? How do I grow? How do I make it better? And it's interesting to try to do it school-wide because people don't, like schools like to think they think that way, but we don't.
Right.
And it's sad that a lot of administrators and a lot of teachers are like, oh, WASC, it's another checkbox we have to fill out.
Right.
And I'm like, if we do it right, WASC should never be a checkbox we fill out. We should never do WASC. We should just be like, oh no, we are continually reflective and implementing new things based on the reflection sort of school. And if we do that, the report writes itself, and we don't ever have to worry about WASC.
Well, it sounds like too, like especially when you relate it to that cycle of inquiry that teachers are doing in the classroom and are sharing on Twitter, you know, we know that if we do that cycle well and we pay attention to it and we collaborate and work with others, eventually the cycle starts to get a little bit easier because you get into the rhythm, you see the routines, you start to notice things in the data that you might not have noticed before, and then it not only, of course, does it make the experience better for students, but it makes the overall classroom better. So imagine if you could take what you do in your classroom school-wide. But it's hard because, of course, like you said, it's seen like that checkbox thing that you have to do. When really, if you start with WASC in mind and start with that inquiry mindset and that cycle of inquiry, WASC could really almost be kind of the tipping point to help check all the other boxes.
Absolutely. So a lot of times you can see a school that is reflective. And it's sad because in a lot of WASC reports, the schools don't speak highly enough about themselves.
I think that's just something about education in general. Like teachers don't speak highly enough of themselves, schools, districts, like we're always so worried about seeming like we're bragging or like oversharing, or we always seem like if I share this awesome thing I did, are people gonna look at me differently? Are people gonna think that I'm oversharing? Or are people gonna come to me and expect me to have expertise that I don't? And it's all just crazy. There's just like, just share the good things you're doing. Please, like we need those stories, especially in the educational climate we're in now more than ever. Like share the good, please, and share the not so good. Like share the work in progress. Like that's all.
And that's helpful. What most of it is. I mean, that's what a lot of my folders in my Google Drive are titled is they're whatever the thing is, and then it's WIP for work in progress. And it's, I'm like, everything's a work in progress.
Yeah, for sure. So now that we know a little bit more about your history in education, what made you think about and ultimately take this leap into the library?
I love books.
So it's like hashtag across the street, I love books. Do you like big books and you cannot lie?
I like all books.
Small books, big books?
Yeah. My daughter makes fun of me now for books.
What?
She's swimming, by the way. We've asked her not to talk. She's been really good about that. But she will tell you that all I want to do in summer is, let me read my book. I did it digitally this last year. It worked really well.
How'd you do it?
I created a Google form.
Nice.
And so there was just a link to the Google form, and they would fill out that link, and there were questions like, what period are you in, or are you a current student, former student, staff member, what period are you in, an agreement about turning the book in, what book they were checking out, and the author for it.
Nice. So easy. Google Forms, people. They're a great wonder tool.
They are. They are.
So now that you're going into a big library, not just one in the corner of a room,
Yay!
what are some of like your ideas about it?
I want to make it more student friendly. I asked my students at the end of the year for their extra credit to write a problem solution kind of proposal for the library. I said, what's a problem that the library currently faces? And I told them it couldn't be personnel.
Yeah.
They can't get rid of me.
No.
I asked them, and it's got to be a problem that faces a majority of our students. So it couldn't be like, well, me and my friends find this annoying, or my AP students and I find, no, that you're not a majority.
Yeah.
What's the solution? Or what's a possible solution? What would that solution cost in terms of time, money, resources, people? And then how would that solution benefit the majority of students? How would it benefit the school? How would it benefit the library?
Got it.
And they came up with some really cool things. One of the things that came out is students find the need to study during lunch, but with 30 minutes, they need to eat.
Right. Yeah, it's hard to do both. It's hard to do multiple things as a high school student, let alone like survive.
And I don't want students eating on the carpet, but we've got a good like 30-foot entryway of tile. And I think I want to move some tables in there and make them here's where you can study and eat.
Yeah.
So, my principal, because we're going to have some of our rooms opened back up, has said that we can turn one of them into a green room.
Ooh.
So that teachers can do flipped classrooms, flipped classes, students can come in and film.
Nice.
I'm super excited because right now our students that do the news as a video do it in the drama teacher's room, which is fine, but we've got other students creating videos, and it would be great if they could also come and use it.
Yeah, for sure.
And the library's central, so.
Yeah, no, and the library that she has access to, it's big, it's got lovely ceilings, it's got lots of spaces, and I can't wait to see the awesome things that you create with it.
I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. So definitely make sure you follow Kate on Twitter and eventually Instagram so that way you can see the amazing transformation her library is going to take. And if you know of an awesome librarian, please share this video with them so that way they can connect with Kate so we can get even more awesome. So thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next month. Bye!
Hey everyone, and that's it! We're done with today's episode of Cool on the Internet, Even Cooler IRL. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. And all the information you need to know from today's episode will be down in the doobly-doo. See you next time!